Hello and welcome to the Villains Talk Show. I am one of your hosts, C4, trying to do my best Mr. Rogers impression I can. Welcome. How are you? How was your day? I'm, as always, joined with Sir Jeremy, the incredibly interrupting Insanieac, the great Grease Goblin,
without neither me nor other,
and the lovely Sara Vike, the only true one who has any grip on actual reality in this group.
I don't think I do.
What is reality?
I thought she was the only real villain of the group.
That's what makes her the truest.
Only because I'm the only real person in the group.
Exactly.
We're all just figments of your imagination, just reflections of your personality, psyche, now being broadcast for hundreds on the internet.
Some days I question it. It's true.
We're not crazy. You're crazy.
And doing all of these voices all at once.
I'm really good. What can I say?
That being said, we are the Villains Talk Show. We talk show and podcast. On Sundays we do double taps. Today's Wednesday, and Wednesday is podcast day. Woo! And there was some confusion about what was happening today, but that's kind of usual for us. So, in other words, it's a very usual day. And we kind of had a mix of ideas. We wanted to go with we wanted to do the Pride Month theme kind of thing. You know, jump on that bandwagon because we are not milking views at all. We're completely wholesome people.
We're so wholesome.
Yes, we're very wholesome villains.
Yes, we're very wholesome villains. Ignore the name. No, but in reality,
we totally support. Like if you need to, do your things with yourselves, and be who you are. Some places aren't allowing that anymore.
I'm going to ask you later what you mean by that, because that's a very curious thing to say. But before we get into that, I was going to say the topic of today is finding your identity. I like this one. This was what I'm actually kind of excited to talk about, because I'm bisexual. I've been my whole life, but I am not outward about it because I don't feel the need to be. But we'll get into that later. And so, yeah, I wanted to talk about that kind of thing. Because everyone talks about, coming out and all that kind of stuff and being proud. But there's more about, because you can come out, like my cousin, who out there, and I love him to death, he came out, and then and then it slowly became a process over 10 years. And I'm not going to tell his story, but I could definitely, anyway, it doesn't point. It's just, I'm going to stop talking. Someone else talk for me, please.
Things, yes.
I don't have anything to say, so...
I was hoping there was more further up with that.
No. I mean, I could start this off.
I meant things and stuff.
No,
I mean, because we have a brevity of perspectives here. We have my perspective growing up an inner city kid who couldn't really find what he wanted to be for a while. We have Sara here who got married at 19?
Almost.
But and you're happily married still, and that's almost 10 years.
It's going to be 8 years in August.
Yeah, and so that's and we've talked about personally on a one-to-one basis how incredible that is, because how rare that is nowadays too.
True.
And then we have the three men I don't know about, and that is Sir Jeremy, Insanieac, and the Great Grease Goblin. Well, the Great Grease Goblin we do know about. If you go back in our catalog on YouTube and find the episode where we first introduced the Great Grease Goblin, you will find a whole episode dedicated to him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Didn't you say he slides his way through the spectrum?
He definitely does. There's a reason why we call him that. No man, no woman, no beast. Be safe.
No.
Exactly.
Joy.
No beast.
Not my king.
I think I'll expose them all.
That being said, what I more want to talk about is like, so I guess I was lucky growing up because when I grew up with a bunch of friends who were very open about being okay with stuff. Like we joke around like any kids would. But like I remember coming up to my friends when I was like 16 and no one cared. They honestly all just looked at me and just kind of shrugged and it didn't matter. And I understand that's a rare experience, but that's kind of like and then I kind of fought with it when I went to university because I didn't realize if I was just developing, if this is something I wanted, and it took a long time. It took a long time, and the worst part about it was it was really hard. It was really hard for me to not. God, I'm gonna make myself seem so horrible. It was really hard for me not to cheat. It was really hard. Yeah, I know it's bad, but it was one of those things because I could never feel exclusive, and you could say I have ADD, you could say I was horrible, but like I would be with a girl. I had 3 girlfriends, from 20 to 26. All of them were 2 years plus. All of them ended with me cheating on them. All 3. It not like right away. Like it was always near the end of the 2 years, but it always happened. And I remember being 26 and just breaking up with the 3rd one and thinking to myself, like, is there something wrong with me? Do I have a problem? Is there something that I'm not dealing with? Because like I blamed it on cold feet, but the more I thought about it, the more I kind of figured that I was also non-monogamous. And ever since then, I've basically been in a relationship that wasn't. And I've never felt that pain because my partner is okay with it, whoever that may be. And that literally took from, you could say I got sexually active like around 12 years old. Because I'm like every little boy, 12, 13. Like that took 13 years to figure out what my identity truly was. And so it's always funny when I see, I guess my final point is, and my cousin is going through the same thing. He found out that he was gay, I think in his mid-20s, and then decided, I think it was like 3 or 4 years later, that he was actually a man. And now he's in the process of it, and he's in his mid-30s, and he's just found himself. But he's been doing this since his mid-20s, since earlier than I had started. So it always gets me that people, especially younger generations now, if I can be the old man in the room, it always makes me, I don't want to say cringe, but it makes me laugh a little when I hear about younger generations already putting themselves in boxes. You know what I mean? Like you do more damage, I think, to yourself when you put yourself in a box right away. And it's funny because it just seems to be a race, at least for me. I've always looked at trying to identify yourself or to kind of come out, or however you may be, whatever that is. It comes in like all of a sudden you're in a box and you're kind of proclaiming yourself part of that box. It's why it's one of the reasons why I've never been truly overt about what I am on the inside, and why you rarely ever hear me talk about this is because I don't like to wear it. because I don't need that validation, but I also don't think it's fair to me because I'm still developing. I'm 31, but I still fully believe that I am still developing in terms of who I am as a person. I'm only 30. Technically, on average, I'll die when I'm 70, 80. So it's like, technically, halfway through my life is 35. Maybe then I'll really take a look. Yeah, now I've been talking for about 11 minutes straight. Someone please.
You're just so good at it.
I know.
Yeah, Sarah, you're so good at talking.
You are.
Oh, thank you.
I'm really glad to hear that you had friends who were very accepting of you. I am. I mean, I'm probably the straightest person there is, most cisgender, monogamous. There's nothing unusual about me in those regards. But I was raised in a Christian family, going to Christian schools, going to church, worked in Christian schools more recently, and I was raised to be against all of that. And looking back, it really makes me cringe the way that I thought and the things I believed about people just because they were different than me. And it really makes me sad to think of all the people who are harmed because a girl likes other girls, or a guy likes other guys, or any of that, anything that fits into that. The way that they get harmed by these beliefs that I was raised with and I had myself really bothers me.
So just sticking to that a little bit. Tell me about. I don't want to talk unless you. I mean, you talk about what you want, but tell me about the moment you realized those parts of your beliefs, those we'll say those traditional elements that were taught to you. What was that like when you realized inwardly that was wrong?
It wasn't a moment. It's been probably the past, I don't know, probably the past 8 or so years, probably around the same length of time I've been married, of just slowly going wait, why do I think that? Is that something that I should actually think? And just sort of questioning the things that I was taught and going, there's not actually anything to stand behind that. There's no reason why I should think that. And slowly coming to a better understanding of people around me and a much more liberal worldview.
That was actually the exact answer I was looking for. It was a growth process.
It's very good to have that kind of introspection and be able to take that step forward and look back and be like, I actually grew from this experience into a better person because I got to see where you made the mistakes. And everyone makes mistakes, and I'm no one's perfect in any regard. I've made mistakes as a kid.
Yeah, I would say it's probably been about the same amount of time I've been an adult, right? The same amount of time where I've really had the chance to meet other people and think things.
Oh, and a lot of that isn't exactly your fault because of the way that things were taught to you in certain ways, right? It's not, you can't exactly blame yourself for the fact that you had that. It's just about going forward with a new intelligence and new awareness of the situation.
Exactly.
Better towards that situation for a better
exactly. The important thing is growing and realizing that maybe the things you were taught aren't necessarily 100% correct.
I wanted to highlight that growth. You said it took 8 years, right? And I just wanted to highlight that it's a process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless I'm wrong here. I've never had personally I have, but that's a different story. But there are seldom instances in people's lives where they actually instantly think something's wrong, or they not think something's wrong. No, that's a bad way to say it.
They instantly change their beliefs?
Yes.
A moment of clarity.
Exactly. Yeah. It's when that moment where you truly understand what's going on is wrong. Or is counter to what it should be.
Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to say that's never happened because I'm sure there people could throw 1,001 war stories where some that realizes what they're doing is wrong, so on and so forth. I'm sure. But I'm talking more in today's, we're going to say, idyllic world that people keep looking for. Because that's really what everyone keeps looking for, and for themselves and for the world. Like, the world only reflects what people look for in themselves. Forget who said that. I didn't say that. That's a quote from a philosopher. I just can't think of which one. Might be Foucault.
Here's the name.
Might be Foucault. But the point is people look, especially in today's culture, people try to reflect a sense of perfect. Even if that perfect is different from yours, that's what they're trying to celebrate, is the individuality as well as perfection. And they're trying to see it reflect from the world back at them instantly. And I think that you're putting yourself under a spotlight. I'm not saying it isn't good. I'm not saying it isn't good for people, especially who have problems, being out there and being okay with things, or just being celebrated for. And that's great. But you should never put yourself in a box. And it's what really, because I've worked in my job, in my place, the bar I own. Like, I have seen many people who never left high school. They're 60 years old, they drive truck, and they've never left high school. Like, in their thinking, in the way they act, and it's sad to see that level of stagnation. And it's funny because I have friends like you guys and other people who tell me, like, oh, well, people should think this way, and I don't understand how they think this way. And my thoughts are, if you meet the people who think that way, you see why. Because there's, like, it's they live in a life that's treated as secondhand, and at the same time, they become stagnant because they don't think anywhere past behind their box. And it definitely negatively motivates me to never be like that, to never be so stagnant about something. But it's.
Can I ask what you mean a bit more about, like, being in the box, just to, like?
Yeah, I actually glad you asked that. What I mean is, God, the best way I can explain it is, you ever read the Dr. Seuss book, Sneetches?
I think I have pretty much read most of it. Just remember that one off the top of my head.
5-second synopsis.
They all want stars or something, right?
Yeah, and that premise aside, it's not about being special. That's different. What I'm trying to say is, when you put yourself in a box, it's more like, okay, I wear metal jackets, so people automatically think when they see me wearing all black, is they automatically think I have a negative attitude. I'm angry. I'm dirty, or you know what I mean. And and I'm saying that there's now a new kind of box that you can accidentally fall in if you're not careful, where it's being celebrated. And then you do things to try and stay in this box, even though your growth allows you to venture into many boxes. Does that make sense? Like,
I get what you're trying to say.
It's like,
sort of.
Exactly, you put a label on it.
It's like, actually, I have the best example. Okay, it's like being in a buffet, and the first thing you see at the buffet is your favorite food. But it's only your favorite food because you know from between all the food you've had, this is your favorite. But beside it is food that's actually you'll like even better. And beside that's even better food. But you are stuck at the first tray because you just keep going to what you think is your favorite and not allowing yourself to try other foods.
That slightly makes more sense, but it's also more
good.
Like,
that's the best you're gonna get.
So you're saying don't get stuck up on something just because you like it. Make sure that you take time to explore other things as well.
Exactly, because you can always go back. Like I found in like you can always go back. No one said you once you push forward you can't go back. Right?
Depends on the situation, I guess.
Well,
That's
I
true.
heard some people saying that.
it's a man too gone too far and get back.
There definitely is situations where you can go too far.
No, we have to go all the way around.
Jeremy with the knife from nowhere.
It's like you're not allowed to ask.
Sounds like he gets me on the spotlight.
Well, they're right there in the man jackets.
I agree. It sounds like someone wants the spotlight.
No.
Oh, so about your
Sorry, I'll go back to the corner. Shh.
No, but I do want to hear from you guys. Like, me and Sarah know each other very well in this matter. We've had many discussions, especially about finding our identities. I mean, Sarah has been in my life for over 10 years, almost 10 years. Her and Jan.
10 years. I met you very shortly after Jan and I started dating.
Yeah.
Like months after.
It's
9.
So we've known each other a long time, and she's seen me through a lot of my development over my 20s, which was one hell of a roller coaster. Good luck in your 20s if you're in your 20s.